Ever since the COVID-19 lockdowns began in the United States in March of 2020, many small businesses have struggled to survive, with some going out of business. Chicago, Illinois is no exception to this. Some of those smaller businesses have given me the opportunity to speak with them and cover their businesses. One of those is a local independent movie theater in Chicago that has been around for over 90 years. A movie theater that first opened its doors in 1929, the Music Box Theater. Tell us more about the Music Box Theater.
The Music Box is Chicago's year-round film festival, we like to say. We show all sorts of films, independent, foreign films, documentary, classic films, special events, special guests. The Music Box has been around since 1929. We just had a big 90th anniversary celebration back in 2019. Prior to the pandemic, we were open 365 days a year. We would be screening movies every day, including having a lot of annual special events like Christmas shows, special Thanksgiving shows, a lot of stuff around Halloween, film festivals. My name is Buck Lepard. I'm the Senior Operations Manager at the Music Box Theater. I've been a part of the Music Box since 2009.
How did your business react to the first wave of COVID-19 that happened back in March and April?
So we were in the middle of our 70 millimeter film festival back in March 2020. We had just gotten through the first week when more information about COVID started coming out and government mandates started coming out. We were keeping an eye on it internally of what would be the best steps for us to take. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, everything kept changing. We'd gotten through the first weekend of the festival, which, we have an auditorium that seats 750 people. We were expecting a lot of those shows to sell out. And then we got the word that capacity restrictions were going to change. So we needed to go down to a maximum of 200 people in our 750 seat auditorium. So we took the steps to ensure that that would be the case. And we were talking about extra cleaning measures that we could take. And then literally a day or two later, word came down that businesses needed to go down to 5 or 10%, and then basically that we needed to close, which we all agreed was the right thing. But it was a very strange few days, thinking we were taking the right steps to get ahead of this and mitigate risk, and then finding out that what we were planning on doing was not going to be enough, and that the only thing to do was to go into full quarantine.
Did you have a chance to reopen during the summer when the cases were lower?
We did. We reopened in early July. We started playing a bunch of classic films on 70 millimeter, which is this extra big film format that very few movie theaters even have the capability to do. So we played a lot of classic films meant to be seen on the big screen. Vertigo, 2001: A Space Odyssey, leading up into the release of Christopher Nolan's new movie Tenet, which didn't end up opening until the end of the summer, but we opened that on 70 millimeter. And we stayed open for about 4 or 5 months there. Reopened in July with limited capacity, limited show times, more time in between movies for extra cleaning precautions, and then we shut down again in mid-November.
So how did Music Box Theater react? That actually goes into my next question. How did Music Box Theater react to the when the cases started rising again in Illinois in November and December? Was it similar to March and April?
We were a little bit more prepared for it. That was always, even when we reopened, we had in the back of our mind, we're going to be paying attention to the numbers and to everything, and with anticipation that we may have to close again. So unfortunately, it was a case of practice makes perfect, where by the time the second closure came around, we were able to make that decision faster and react accordingly. And we already had several things in place. We had certain things that we had started doing during our first closure to, again, engage with our audience a little bit more and also bring in a little bit of income so we didn't have to close down permanently. So that included partnering with different movie distributors and studios to do virtual cinema screenings. So we had a lot of movies that would have been playing at the Music Box if we were open, and instead people could buy tickets to watch them online, and then we would be splitting the revenue with the movie studios for those, because we'd be advertising it to our audience. We had to-go concessions available for curbside pickup every weekend, and we started partnering with different businesses to do special packages. So, you can pick up popcorn and soda and candy, and then this week it comes with books that benefit Carpe Librum, or this week it comes with bagels to benefit the Steingold's Deli, which just opened next door to us. So we had to get creative on a few ways to keep our business going during our closure. And the second time we closed, we were able to implement all of those a lot faster, because we didn't have to spend so much time brainstorming and figuring out like what we were capable of doing and what we were not capable of doing in the situation.
So how are you doing? How is the Music Box doing as of right now in 2021, in March 2021?
Well, we've just reopened again. We were closed for the first several months of the year, but still doing our virtual cinema, doing to-go concessions, a few other different things. We launched our own virtual cinema platform called Music Box Direct, so people can watch all of our movies online in one specific location, because in the beginnings it was like, this movie is available on this website, this movie is available on this other website, but with Music Box Direct it's like, okay, here's everything you need all in one convenient space for our audience. And here's dozens of movies available at your fingertips. We've just reopened again for in-person screenings the past couple of weekends. We're open right now only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for 2 or 3 shows a day. We've been doing, and with very limited capacity, we have, again, an auditorium that seats 750 people, and we're only allowing up to 50 people in that room with very strict cleaning procedures, mask mandates, social distancing. But we have a great audience. Everyone's been very respectful and very appreciative. People are mostly just happy that we're open and happy to be back at the movies. We've continued to do the other things like the virtual cinema and the to-go concessions. We've also been doing a lot for our 70-seat auditorium, we've been renting it out for private rentals, private screenings for small parties of around 10 people or so. You can rent the small auditorium, bring in a DVD or Blu-ray of your own, and watch it in a very controlled environment. And we had a few people who've come back for repeat viewings already, even though we've only been doing this for a few months. And we did do that again this past summer, so we had in fall, so we had people who had screenings with us in September or October 2020 who were like, hey, I want to do another one, when can I get in there?
What has been some really difficult moments for Music Box Theater throughout the pandemic?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said any of it was not difficult. Part of it's just been the uncertainty of, closing down and then not knowing when we were going to be able to reopen, what it's going to look like when we reopen. I think when we first shut down, we thought, kind of foolishly assumed when we reopened it would be back to business as usual. But of course that was not the case, so we've kept having to make adjustments and tweak our practices, which we do anyway when we're open, when we were open in the before times. In pre-2020 there was a lot of thinking on the fly and making changes. And then we kept our front of house staff on as long as we could when we first shut down. We shut down in March middle of March 2020, and we were able to keep our entire floor staff on payroll through the end of May. We were fortunate that we were coming off of several very good years of the theater, so we had a nice little piggy bank of reserves to pull from. But at the end of May, when it was, we still had no idea when we'd be able to reopen. We were just didn't have enough to keep people on, so we had to let folks go. We provided them with as many resources as we could about, making sure they were eligible for unemployment and able to get that, providing references for people seeking other jobs. We have had, bright moments during the pandemic. It's been really great seeing how supportive our audience has been. We've got a very dedicated cinephile audience here, and every step of the way they were like, well, what can we do to help the Music Box, and supporting us as we tried new endeavors. We shut down and we said like, hey, we're sorry you can't go to the movies anymore, but we just figured out how to offer virtual movies in our virtual cinema. And they're like, great, we'll just watch the movies there. And then we started selling popcorn and to-go concessions available for pickup, and that people are great, I'm going to grab those and then I'm going to take them home and watch my virtual movies. Or coming to us so they can watch, do the private rentals in the theater because they aren't comfortable going to one with like a general audience yet. We've done some fun stuff with merchandise. This was our first year. We've been talking for years about how we wanted to offer a Christmas ornament because we have our annual Christmas shows each year. But we would always get so busy in the lead up to the holidays that we never got around to doing it. So now we're like, well, we have a little bit of time this year. Let's design an ornament and make it available, and we can ship it out to people after they order it online. And we sent an email out about those, and they sold out immediately. And so we did another run of those, and so yeah, we've been open for a long time, and we have had people who've been coming to us for a long time, and our audience just wants to make sure that we're still around. And it's been very very touching the way some folks have come out in support of us. We're in a good position. Like I said before, we were coming off of several very good years, so we were able to have, a bit of a backbone to support us during this whole thing. And our business had been growing for a long time, so that hopefully we'll look at this as just sort of a hiccup along the way. But we wouldn't have been able to persevere without the support of a lot of our staff along the way and our audience.
This question is: have you received any assistance from outside parties, such as the government and like private organizations, like third-party private organizations, nonprofits?
We've not received any sort of financial aid from the government or independent donors. Unless you count the thousands of very small independent donors who are buying our concessions on weekends or things like that. But no, we have not received any major sort of financial assistance.
What are your future plans? Like, what's the future? What are some future plans for the Music Box Theater going forward?
So we have a timeline in place that, of course, like everything this past year, is subject to change. Right now, it's the middle of March, and we are only open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for limited screenings with limited audiences. We are planning at the end of March to reopen to be open for 7 days a week again, back to business as usual, but again with less movie screenings per day. And then if everything trends the way we hope it does, we will be able to increase our audience later on in the spring or early summer, increase our audience capacity. So instead of being only allowed 50 people in our large auditorium, maybe it goes up to 100 or 150. And then, and we are talking with folks that we've worked with before on certain special events, thinking like, hey, maybe by the time fall goes around, we can start having special events where we have, an actor come out to the Music Box or a director come out and do a Q&A after a new movie or a classic film. So we are hopeful for the future, and we've got plans in place for how we're able to continue moving forward, as well as backup plans in case things change and we are not.
What are ways that people can help?
There's several different ways people can help right now. You can support us by watching a movie on Music Box Direct. can order to-go concessions from us, which are available on Fridays and Saturday nights. So order concessions, pick them up, and bring them back home for your weekend movie night. And like I said, we are open for limited screenings right now. So, if you feel up for it, you can come join us. Godzilla versus Kong at the end of March, and then more new movies after that.
One last question here on my list, because there was two questions, but one of those has pretty much been answered earlier. What are some ways you've had to adapt? What are some new things you have done recently?
Yeah, well, I mean, our main focus used to be just, all right, let's get movies on screen and let's get an audience in to see the movies. And then that got taken away from us by COVID. And so we had to come up with all of these different things, that venues we would not have ever gone down. Like, we never even had discussions of, hey, we should start making our movies available to watch online instead of at the theater. Or we should, start making packages of concessions that people can, just pick up and take home, as opposed to just, coming in and buying, at the concession stand when they're coming to see a movie. We revamped, increased our focus on, like, okay, well, let's sell online merchandise, and so, let's take the time to make a Christmas ornament this year so we can have people order those online and then ship them out, rather than having people pick them up when they're here to see a movie. So we've had to do a lot more making ourselves available to go out to our audience, rather than having our audience come to us in our physical building. Our stance has not changed. We want to listen to the experts, listen to the scientists. Like I said, when the first news was coming out, the messaging was a little, we didn't know what to expect. So we were paying close attention, and when the news came through, like, okay, we can't have 700 people in our auditorium, but we can have up to 200. They say that should be sufficient. So yeah, that's sufficient. And then realizing a day later that, like, no, that's actually not doing enough to mitigate the spread. More needs to be done. And, finding out that people, need to be wearing masks all the time, and, these extra cleaning precautions need to be taken place. Like, we've gone along with all of that just because, we're one business, but, movies are a communal thing, and we want the best for our audience, the best for our staff. We want everyone to be safe and healthy. And if that meant shutting down for periods of time, like, we were always going to do the responsible thing. We've worked with a lot of great partners over the years, bookstores and film festivals and film studios, and Had all sorts of people here, actors, directors, writers, musicians, poets, and civil servants and politicians, and it's always very exciting. So we're, like I said, it looks like right now that the timeline is that, like, hopefully in the fall we'll be able to start doing more of that again. But if not, we'll do it a little bit further down the line. It's always a thrilling experience.
Up in Edgewater, I got the opportunity to speak with the current operator of a local bookstore, Heirloom Books. Eric has taken over the main day to day operations of the bookstore after the passing of its original founder, Chelsea Carr Rectanis. Eric filled me in on some of the details surrounding running the bookstore with the COVID-19 pandemic still going on.
My name is Eric Graff. I'm a long-term resident of Rogers Park. I was born here. I've volunteered at this bookstore since its founding 4 years ago.
What is tell us more about Heirloom Books, about the business.
This book was created by Chelsea Carr Rectanis 4 years ago in March. After she had worked 10 years upon graduation from Northwestern with an English and creative writing major as a bartender and waitress, saving money. I met her when she was still setting it up. I felt sorry for her because there was hardly anything here, nothing at all downstairs. So after I got back from my annual trip to San Francisco, I donated a few thousand books and a bunch of bookshelves and have volunteered here ever since. Originally just 5 days a week. Now since her death, I'm here 7 days a week.
How did Heirloom Books react to the first wave of COVID-19 that happened in March and April of?
Chelsea was germophobic, had always been, and she immediately closed. Coming here occasionally to watch movies or something, but this place was closed until the day after she died.
How did the Heirloom Books react to this when the second wave happened?
I really didn't notice it. It didn't affect us because we don't serve food. I mean, our next door neighbors with whom we share three doors, the cafe, Helix Cafe, they were going to open on Thanksgiving. And because of the second wave, they didn't. Of course, that hurt our business because it's really nice to have a cafe next to a bookstore where you can go and sit there and read a book for an hour or two. We instituted mask wearing. We instituted hand cleaning so that there's cleanser in various places around the bookstore. And social distancing, sort of, which wasn't much of a problem because we usually didn't have more like 2 people in here at a time. Business was sort of slow. but not like a bar or a restaurant where they were really hurt. Pretty much operating just as usual, just less business perhaps than we would have normally gotten. Not topics, but there was probably a shift in that some people came to realize that if you wanted to get out of the house and do something, you could come to the bookstore. So we got people we might not have gotten otherwise. But I didn't notice any, I mean, the big seller here is Karl Marx and science fiction. That didn't change.
How is Heirloom Books doing right now as of 2021?
We had a massive advertising campaign. We did a GoFundMe. We still have a GoFundMe, and we've earned over $18,000 in that. The previous 4 years, this place lost money every quarter, right? We're at least breaking even now, plus we have that $18,000 nest egg. This place has been owned by Chelsea's father, technically. It still is owned by him. All the profits, all the money we make goes to him, or goes to our family, partly to make up for all the money they lost over the first 4 years. We are going to incorporate as a not-for-profit sometime between now and January. He will be on the board. Myself, my brother will be on the board. We're doing better. The Tribune has covered us. National Public Radio has done a show about us. WGN-TV did 3 shows about us. And then they did an edited version of that, where they put parts of the 3 little broadcasts together. The local inside press has done multiple articles and free advertising. The Chicago Quarterly Review has been doing full-page advertising for nothing. The Loyola Phoenix did the best article of the lot, I think. We've gotten a lot of play, because it's sad. She was 31 years old, right? Oh, we also had lots of events here, like several times a week, poetry readings, open mics, lectures on Marxist economics. All the music, we've had live bands here with hundreds of people. It's hard to believe. It's pretty crowded.
So if all the profits go to her father, what do you get?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No one gets paid anything here.
Oh, okay. What do you do to stay afloat?
I live very cheaply. I don't do anything. I come here every day.
Nice. I don't know. Interesting question.
I'm very old.
Yeah.
I'm retired.
Yeah.
So.
What has been some really difficult and bright moments for Heirloom Books during the pandemic?
Well, the worst thing was her shutting in March. I did not agree with that, but it's her place, and so we never had to. Maybe there were a few weeks in there where there was a total shutdown, but other than that, we never had to shut down. And this is a really easy thing to run while obeying all the rules and safety precautions. So I did not agree with that. Her death was certainly the saddest thing that happened. And yet the publicity from her death was one of the best things that happened, because now there are people who drive in from the suburbs to come here because they saw us on TV, that kind of thing.
Have you received any assistance from outside parties, such as the government and private organizations?
Private organizations, yes. Have you folks been here before?
I have been here before.
Okay, can you show your friend how things are set up?
I can. That sounds
Okay.
like a good plan.
Normally I would do it, but we're filming.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely, thank you.
This is that new zombie apocalypse film that's coming out?
Oh, I've been so excited to see that.
Yeah. Right. So we can continue if you want. So you're asking about being helped. Certainly no government help. I mean, because since her dad owns the place, he does the taxes, he pays all the bills. So I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I just send him all the money. $1,000 checks every couple of weeks. In terms of help, yeah. Like Green Element down on Broadway, they've agreed to be our fiscal agents for nothing. And we've met with their attorney and their founder, owner. They've been helpful. And the Gay Archives down in Clark, did you interview them?
Oh, no.
They're the largest gay archives in this middle America, I guess.
Really? Okay.
After we got a donation of a truckload of gay porn, we have a whole room of it downstairs. I called them and because they're a serious operation. They actually have gay publications going back to World War I, I guess, all cataloged and arranged like a library. And I wanted to do a trade for non-gay porn, other kinds of books. And And they did. Their archivists came over here and spent hours going through our stuff, and they took everything that was valuable, so we still have a lot of gay porn, not the valuable stuff. Archie's Cafe has been, I don't know, I guess not, but we have our meetings there a lot. They brought food over just to be nice. They're just really nice people, and most of their workers come here as customers, and so does their owner. So in that sense, there's been community support, but no money except for the fundraising stuff. I think word of mouth, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
tell your friends about this place and where we are, because we're a lousy location. I'm the only one who works in the shop, except occasionally a friend will come in and, like, moving bookshelves, which I've been doing. I need someone else to help me carry them up and down the stairs and stuff. I'm trying to get volunteers who are willing to work for nothing. I don't know how you feel about that, but I like the principle that we charge less than anybody else. And so we're not into making money. If we do make money when we become incorporated, our intention is to improve the bookstore and to give it away. Like, there are a lot of good causes, like Centro Romero across the street, for instance. What they're doing in Helix with training inner city kids with their first jobs, build up a resume and how to find a job. There are a lot of good causes that I'd like to support. While we used to have all these events in-house, since COVID, one change is we only do events now online. So we've got this whole Great Books lecture series on our website and also on YouTube. I think we did something which was like the Moth Radio Hour with a whole bunch of established writers telling stories. And we have a events coordinator. There are people who help who don't work here. Like, my brother does the computer stuff, but he does it from his laptop wherever he is. And he works doing aid with Haiti, so he could be down in Haiti helping the bookstore.
What are the future plans for him?
To become incorporated as a not-for-profit, to operate in the black, and be able to distribute the money constructively throughout the community, to support progressive social causes, to push the great books and literacy with kids, and, you know, acculturation for foreign language speakers. We want to be a progressive community hub. I mean, we always have been. We want to get better at it.
What are ways that people can help?
Come and buy books. Donate books, although we're sort of, no, we've got more books than we can handle. We put books every day in book boxes throughout the neighborhood, sometimes several bags worth in a day, because we get so many donations. People have been very generous. What I want, I need 8-foot-tall bookshelves, preferably double-sided, so the books can face out on both sides. That's what I want. That are sturdy, where I don't have to put metal braces in them, keeping them from collapsing.
At the time, what was your stance on the closing of businesses? So this, like, just businesses in general, like, and has it changed throughout the pandemic?
I mean, I'm not a microbiologist. I'm prepared to go with the World Health Organization on these things. I think our administration did a terrible job until recently. I mean, they're responsible for hundreds of thousands of people dying unnecessarily. I believe in science. Starting in August, right after Chelsea died, we've been open the whole time.
Since August.
Yeah.
Gabe, do you have any other questions?
No. No, it's really interesting.
I have a funny anecdote. I don't know if you want to keep this, but we get usually 5-star ratings on Google Business and Yelp and stuff like that. But this one person came in here. I was sitting in that chair, and my brother was sitting here, and I was telling him about my heart problem and the problem getting tests. I had the mask down. My brother and I see each other every day, so we're casual about that. And we were alone in here. He came in, and he overheard me talking about, or answering my brother's question about health. He immediately assumed that I had COVID, or that I might have COVID. We weren't wearing masks, and he wrote this really nasty thing about us on Google Business, to which I responded with what was actually going on. But that's a problem. And knowing when to wear a mask and not to wear a mask, even though I've been inoculated, you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable.